What if plants were the first architects of life and humans are simply borrowing their blueprint? It sounds a bit provocative, doesn't it? But when you start looking closely at biology, the idea makes perfect sense. Plants were established on Earth long before animals appeared, and the basic structures and processes they developed became the foundation that later life forms, including us, built upon. Welcome to the Science Behind Massage podcast. I'm Eleftheria, a professional massage instructor, trained not only in anatomy and physiology, but also in clinical herbal medicine and foraging as part of my complementary medicine education. In today's episode, we're going to explore the fascinating biological similarities between plants and humans. I still remember standing in a forest once, looking up at an old tree and being struck by how familiar its form felt. The trunk rising like a spine, the branches spreading out like arms, the roots hidden below, just like our own unseen networks of vessels. And I thought to myself, hey, this can't be just poetic imagination. There's a biological truth hiding here. I'm sure many of you have felt the same, pausing under a tree and noticing how its shape echoes our own bodies. You see, evolution as a process didn't invent everything from scratch. It kept reusing and adapting what already worked. That means, well, in a way, when you look at the human body, you're seeing echoes of a plant. Now, think of the most basic principle in biology: hierarchical organization. That's the idea that life builds itself layer by layer. Cells group into tissues, tissues form organs, and organs create whole organisms. Whether you're looking at an oak tree or at a client's leg on your massage table, that layered pattern holds true. A root is an organ, just as much as a lung is. A leaf has tissues that correspond in structure to the connective tissue beneath your hand when you're palpating. It's the same logic, dressed in green for one and flesh for the other. When we zoom into the level of the cell, the resemblance is even more striking. A human cell and a plant cell both contain a nucleus with DNA. Both run on organelles that perform specialized jobs, and both rely on the same genetic code to build proteins. The difference is the thick cell wall in plants, the chloroplast that captures sunlight, are adaptations layered on top of the same foundation. Your mitochondria, which release energy in muscle fibers, also exist in plant cells, working day and night to turn sugars into usable power. Yet plant cells do contain mitochondria, the double membrane organelles responsible for cellular respiration and energy production. In plants, mitochondria participate in diverse processes like photorespiration, thermogenesis, and immune responses. This is why biologists say that all eukaryotic life, meaning life with complex cells, shares a common ancestor. If all that sounds interesting, have a look at my online herbal medicine courses. And if you are into essential oils, learn more in my book, The Complete Guide to Clinical Aromatherapy. Now back to our subject. Here's something people often find surprising. Humans and plants actually share a huge portion of genetic material. That doesn't mean you're half banana, as the joke goes. What it means is that many of the most important genes, the ones that control how cells copy DNA, how they repair damage, how they produce energy, are conserved across life. These are the non-negotiables of biology. They were figured out early, and evolution didn't bother rewriting them. When I studied clinical herbal medicine, this point really sunk in. The very reason plant compounds can act inside the human body is because we share a compatible system. A molecule, a plant made to protect itself against an insect, might also calm inflammation in a human joint. That works because our cellular machinery is fundamentally related. Let's talk about circulation, because that's something every massage therapist knows is central to what we do. Humans have arteries and veins that transport blood, carrying oxygen and nutrients. Plants don't have blood, but they do have xylem and phloem, networks of vessels that transport water, minerals, and sugars from one part of the plant to another. Xylem is the plant tissue responsible for transporting water and dissolved minerals from the roots to the stem and leaves, and for providing mechanical support to the plant, while phloem transports the soluble organic compounds made during photosynthesis. The logic is identical. Create pipes that connect the whole organism. delivering what's needed and removing what's waste. When I'm explaining massage to students, I sometimes remind them that by increasing circulation, we're helping the human body to do what plants have been doing for hundreds of millions of years, keeping the resources flowing through a system. The parallels don't stop there. Consider how plants breathe. They don't have lungs, but their leaves are dotted with stomata, little pores that open and close, regulating the exchange of gases. Carbon dioxide goes in, oxygen comes out. Humans breathe through lungs, where alveoli provide enormous surface area for gas exchange. Different structures, same fundamental goal. Bring in what sustains life, release what no longer serves. It's almost poetic when you think about it. The same cycle of breath flows through the leaves in the forest and through your own chest. Now, let's shift to storage. Humans store energy in fat, adipose tissue, tucked under the skin or wrapped around organs. Plants store energy in starches, packed into roots, tubers, and seeds. When you eat a potato, you're tapping into that stored plant energy, and your own fat tissue works the same way, putting aside calories for later. It's another case where evolution didn't reinvent the wheel. Energy storage looks different on the outside, but the concept is the same. Even growth patterns have parallels. Humans have growth plates in bones, regions of cartilage that allow long bones to lengthen during development. Plants have meristems, cluster of undifferentiated cells at the tips of root and shoots that drive their growth. Again, two different kingdoms of life, both using specialized growth zones to extend themselves into space. And growth isn't the only shared thing. If you look at reproduction, the parallels becomes just as striking. Flowering plants have stamens and pistils, organs specialized for creating the next generation. The stamens produce pollen, which, when you look at it under a microscope, isn't so different in concept from sperm. Both are mobile genetic carriers designed to reach and fertilize. The pistil holds the ovules, and you don't need much imagination to notice the resemblance between ovules and human ovaries. Both are protective chambers where the potential for new life is stored. Even the form of the stamen itself, elongated and upright, echoes the phallic shape of male reproductive structures in animals. Fertilization leads to a seed in plants or to an embryo in humans, but the architectural logic is the same. Specialized organs, gametes carrying DNA, and a safe structure to nurture the beginnings of a new organism. Both plants and humans protect and nourish the next generation, whether it's a seed encased in fruit or a fetus developing in womb. And once humans arrived, the relationship deepened. We depend on plants for oxygen, for food, for medicine. They depend on us and other animals, and insects, of course, to spread their seeds, to shape ecosystems that allow them to thrive. This interdependence is why herbal remedies are effective. Plants evolved compounds designed for chemical defenses that happen to lock into human receptors because we've been evolving side by side. Here's a thought experiment I like. Imagine the connective tissue in your body, the fascia that massage therapists know so well. Fascia wraps organs, links muscles, transmits force. Plants too have connective tissue of a kind. Their cell walls and supportive fibers give structure, transmit force from wind or weight, and link different parts of the plant. The material is different, cellulose instead of collagen, but the purpose is eerily similar. It shows how nature reuses the same themes, like a composer writing variations of a melody. And while humans pride themselves on having a nervous system, plants also communicate. They don't have neurons, but they do transmit signals electrically and chemically through their tissues. A wounded leaf can trigger defenses in a neighboring leaf. Roots send signals about drought conditions. It's not a brain, but it is communication, and it proves that plants and humans share the need to sense, to respond, to adapt. All of this brings us back to the central point. The biology of humans is not separate from the biology of plants. It's an extension of it. Evolution borrowed what worked. Plants provided the first version of cells, tissues, organs. Later, animals refined them into muscles, nerves and bones, but the echoes remain. When a massage therapist works on circulation, fluid movement, or tissue repair, he or she is working with processes that plants themselves embody in their own way. Now, think of something as simple as making tea. The soothing effect of chamomile or the kick of coffee comes from compounds that plants evolved as defenses because they couldn't run or hide. Those molecules weren't designed for us, yet they fit into receptors in our nervous system and physiology as if nature had left us a key. That's not a coincidence, it's the result of shared biology shaped by long histories of coexistence. And that's exactly why, when we talk about plants and humans, we're really talking about two branches of life that have been growing alongside each other, influencing and depending on one another. So, the next time you walk through a forest, or brew a cup of herbal tea, or place your hands on someone's back in a massage session, remember, you're looking at two distinct kingdoms of life, but ones that carry the same biological threads running through them. You're looking at cousins, different in form, but cut from the same cloth. Plants came first, and humans carry their signatures in every cell. If you enjoyed this exploration, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episode. And if you'd like to go further into the science of massage, do check out my books on Amazon. They're packed with insights that connect biology, anatomy, and the art of touch in ways that bring your practice to life.